Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Sidecar Spin. Today I'll be speaking with my first international guest, who happens to be Dan Foden. Dan is a rider from the UK. He is racing at the top level in the UK and through Europe. He happens to be the first person that I ever followed online when I was first starting out. He has vlogs on YouTube, and he's also the reason why I started this podcast as well, because he's part of the Sidecars on the Sofa podcast. And yeah, we talk about Dan racing when he was a kid, GPs, the nations, some of the injuries that he's had, and challenges that he's faced as a racer. So jump on, have a listen. I think I'm a bit starstruck talking to Dan, actually. I hope I don't sound too awkward on there, but yeah, enjoy. Welcome to the Sidecar Spin podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for jumping on and having a chat. You're my first international person that I've spoken to, so yeah, so it's pretty cool. So for people that don't know who you are, can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into sidecars?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sidecars and motocross born and bred, really. The same sort of story for a lot of people, but I followed it a lot as a kid, going with my family, and then when I had the chance to ride myself, obviously took it with both hands, and yeah, I haven't looked back.
Yeah. So how old were you when you started racing?
So I started racing properly, like on sidecars, when I was 13. So there's nothing in the UK for us to do, or there is now, but at the time there wasn't. But we used to travel to Holland about 20 times a year, racing like kids in sidecars. And we've done that for a couple of years, which is pretty crazy. Pretty crazy way to start. Driving, yeah, probably, I think 2 years in a row we went over 20 times over to Holland.
How far is that from you guys?
For us, it's probably about 3 hours to the train or ferry, and then the ferry's a bit of an ordeal, so maybe another couple of hours lost on the ferry, and then another 5 hours in Europe. So yeah, that was what we used to do on the weekends. And then yeah, so that was good. That taught me how to ride sand mainly. Obviously, our goal was always to go to Grand Prix.
Yeah.
We weren't riding just for fun, but yeah. And then when I was 15, I was able to race in the UK. But then at that point, we started doing European Championship. So we were riding in Europe a lot anyway. And then, yeah, by the time I was 17, we was doing Grand Prix, and then it was flat out from there.
So did you guys have a kid's bike, or were you riding on the bigger size bikes? Because I noticed we have kids' bikes made here, but over there I've seen the kids on full-size bikes.
Yeah, well, the first year we went, we did have a kid's bike, and we thought, that'd be the normal thing, like a smaller bike, whatever. And we turned up to the first round, and I think we were one of only 2 or 3 kids that were on a smaller bike.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, oh right, everyone rides full-size bikes then, do they? So, yeah, we did do a year with that bike, and we were scored separately, but yeah, straight away, like, after that first meeting, we thought, oh, yeah, we're only going to do a year on this bike, and then we're going to move up to a full-size. But to be fair, I only had a 252-stroke engine in the full-size bike that I rode that following year, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, because I was wondering about the size of the motors in the bikes, because you see these kids and they look tiny on these big bikes, and you think, geez, that probably looks a bit dangerous, but yeah, if it's only the smaller motors.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah, I think now I've got a feeling that, like, when I was riding, it was up to a 454-stroke and a 252-stroke. That's all you could ride. But I think now in Holland they have opened it up a little bit more. But,
okay.
That year, I started the year on the 250, and then we grafted a CR500 engine into the bike because I'd done a few adult races when I was 14 as well in Holland. And then by the end of the year, we went to a race and we had a problem with our bike, and then we ended up doing the weekend on the Zabel at 14, and that was scary.
Wow. Do you think that being on a kid's bike made you a better rider to get onto the big bikes, or do you reckon it, like, those kids getting onto those bigger bikes, do you think that's probably holding them back a little bit, or do you reckon it's giving them better skills?
I think if you're able to ride regularly enough on a big bike, then it's not a bad thing. I think for me, riding the small bike was handy because it was good for like confidence.
Yeah.
Like, essentially, I was riding the bike as fast as it would go, which made me like more of an aggressive rider because you're trying to find time not just on the straights. Like, you're worrying about, you know, going fast around this corner because they're getting away in them places. And then, obviously, once I jumped onto a big bike, then I'd try and carry a bit of like the corner speed and stuff that you've learned on the small bike into that, which was good. Whereas I think sometimes when you see kids that do just start off on the big bikes, the bike's riding them instead of them riding the bike, and then, yeah, they sort of don't have that aggressiveness.
Yeah, and I suppose if you stack it on a big bike, you probably lose that confidence as well, because it's going to probably be a bit worse.
Yeah, for sure. It's probably a bit scary, but yeah, no, I think the bike that we use is still out and about somewhere in the UK, being ridden by some kids, which is good. But yeah, I think if they can, I mean, once they get onto the bigger bikes, that's more like the stepping stone's made. Then there's no more progression to be made in terms of bikes.
So there is kids riding kids' bikes around now.
Yeah.
Like, you have the classes with the kids' bikes.
Yeah, in the UK, they've just started up a kids class with the Nora Championship.
Yeah.
And at the moment, they haven't got many, but like the bikes are there, and the people's got them, and the kids are riding them. They're just not. I think maybe this year you could see a few more racing in that class. But how many kids bikes do you get in Australia then?
Last year we were probably, because most of the races happen in South Australia. We don't really, it used to be a lot bigger around, but it's sort of condensed down to South Australia, like where I am. And I don't think they have kids' bikes anywhere else but here. So we usually get, I don't know, last year we only probably had about 5 or 6 at one meeting at one time. But there is more around, but whether they all come at the same time or not, like sometimes you'll see kids that you haven't seen for months, and then you might, see new kids, and they come and go a lot. They're not.
Yeah, if you could get them all together at the same time, then it'd be quite busy.
Yeah. But I think because we've got the demo Pee-wee bikes, and they're up to 9 years old. And then we go on to I think it's 9 to 16, and then they're into seniors. But most of them are 150s, 85s, or like 125, like CRF, like 125s. But there's not a lot.
And are the kids able to ride a full-size bike in that class or not?
Nah. No, I think we're only allowed to go up to, I think it's 150 for the CRF 150s are the highest you're allowed to go, I think, in that class. Yeah, for the kids.
What's the age up to?
Well, the oldest is 16.
Oh, that's quite a small engine for
that sort
of age.
Yeah, and like a lot of them, like some of them are quite big for the bikes too by that stage. But we've got some pretty strict rules here for stuff, so it does make it hard, but I guess they're just trying to keep them safe. But I
suppose safety is the most important thing. But like you've seen it in Holland now, because they upped the age a little bit to 18 for the kids in Sidecars, and I think the reason for that is sometimes it's difficult to create a team with sort of two people that are under a certain age, like you see it in the UK as well.
Yeah.
The kid will want to start riding at 13, but then they can't always find a passenger. So then they've upped the age. So, for example, you could ride with your 18-year-old brother. Like, there's a lot more people from 16 to 18 that are riding than between 13 to 16. So you could ride with a passenger that's 18 or something like that. But in Holland, sometimes they'll get a proper lineup of kids sidecars, like 15, and they're pretty much all on full-size bikes with 450 engines. And
wow.
all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. See, we have that problem with the kids. Like, a few of the teams, like their passenger might be 13 and the rider's 16, and then the rider goes to move on to seniors, and then like they split up their team splits up because they can't go together anymore because of the age.
Yeah, my opinion's always been that I think as long as one person is within the age, I think it should be fine, because, you know, we're not riding, like the kids aren't riding for championships and points essentially, are they? I know they're scores, but they're just riding to ride.
Yeah.
So just let them ride.
Yeah, and I think focusing a lot on the kids as well, because they're the potential future riders.
Exactly,
and without building them up. Hey?
I think that's the biggest problem with the sidecars, like for numbers, is the schoolboy scene is very small.
And without building those kids up, well, then you're not going to have the skills in the adults as well.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I think I quite like the idea of trying to help build the kids' sidecars sort of thing. Like, if I've already said that I want to try and buy my old bikes back when they come up for sale, so that I can let people use them that want to use them, instead of, you know, sometimes you see these bikes and they disappear.
We have that problem here.
Yeah.
Like,
so
there's hundreds of them around, but it's like, where are they all? Like, where are they? They're hiding in people's sheds.
Yeah, and you know, someone doesn't want to get rid of it, but they also don't want to use it. So let's give it to someone that's going to use it. Yeah, that's my plan anyway.
Yeah, and people will appreciate that as well. If, you know, there's people that don't have, you know, the cash to buy one, or those parents that aren't sure and they don't want to dish out the money to buy it without their kids having a try on one first even.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, if you're being supplied a bike by someone, you've essentially got nothing to lose, because, you know, and then that's just the start that some people are going to need.
What's your biggest achievement racing sidecars so far?
For me, I think, like, my dream is always, obviously, you sort of progress, don't you, where you say, well, I want to score my first championship points in the World Championship, and then once you've done that, you always want more. But my dream's always been to ride at for Great Britain at the Sidecarcross of Nations. I was lucky enough to be chosen for that 3 times now. So I think maybe the first time I ever got to put on the Team GD shirt, like, still gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that was amazing. And we got on the podium that weekend as well to finish second of the team. And, you know, I was riding with Stuart and Brett on the team as well, and they were obviously flying. And I thought I had to put so much pressure on myself, because I thought I'm the one that is going to, you know, ruin it for us. But I managed to keep it cool and make it happen, and that was probably, at the time, one of the biggest achievements. And then the following year, I think that year, Stuart really saved it for our team. I think he had like a couple of second places, or second and third, and we were like 10th and 11th in our race. And we just managed to finish second. But in the following year, when I was riding with Ryan Humphrey, we had a bit of a ropey season because we got injured in the middle of the season. This was 2023.
Yeah, didn't you guys break your back or something then?
Oh, yeah, both of us in the same crash, both broke bones in our backs, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's when I started following you guys on Instagram, and I was like, what the hell? And my husband's like, and you want to ride sidecars?
Yeah, it's fine. It was fun. That was a pretty crazy week, but yeah, and then that was quite a competitive selection for the nations team that year, because obviously we've been out and sort of come back. I think Ryan was back maybe 2 weeks before the selection for the team. And there was, obviously Brett was riding, so there was Brett Wilkinson, Jake Brown and Stuart Brown that were all there to be chose. And Dan Chamberlain, the team manager, did give us the option that year. So we went to Italy and we actually ended up winning both races. That was like, yeah, that was unbelievable. Like, even I was there like, why has that just happened? Like, I don't really understand it, but I think for me that was just one of them weekends where everything just happened right. And, you know, sometimes you see people have one of them rides that you think, is that the same person on that bike?
Yeah, everything falls into place.
Yeah, and it just, you know, a little bit of luck went our way, and the track, the speed, the conditions, how they watered it, just everything just worked about right. I mean, in the last race, we came from about ninth or something like that, and I just had my head down, charging, and then I looked up and thought, oh, that's Herman's over there. I thought, we must be doing all right. And I looked at the pit board and we were third, and I thought, oh, yeah, it's going all right. And then we just kept going, and then with about 2 laps to go, well, we got past Herman's on the yellow flag, and I was like, but I think I might need to give that one back. So I actually gave him the position back, repassed him again.
Yeah.
And then I could see backs, and I thought, in my head, I was like, I'm going to go and get him. And then I was thinking, what are you doing? Like, maybe just stay here. And I thought, no, I'm going to go and get him. And we were catching him, and then he had a bike problem with 2 laps to go. So.
Oh, yeah.
And then, yeah, I just finished. I was like, what was that? That was the most standout ride.
Yeah.
For an actual
you
ride.
surprised yourself.
Yeah. But just anything to do with the nations for me is it's just special.
From what I've watched on the internet and stuff, it looks like it's a pretty cool event.
Yeah, I think because it's always the end of the season, you know, the pressure's off a little bit. So I think you see the best of a lot of the teams. You know, people are going there and essentially you've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And you're not just every other weekend you're riding with a sort of selfish point of view, if you know what I mean. Like, you're just there for your team to do the best it can do, and that's it. Whereas when you go to the nations, it's these teams, like, for example, the teams that you've been butting heads with all year and rivaling with, you're teaming up with them and you're geeing each other up and saying, come on, let's do it, like, working as a team. And it's a sort of strange thing, but, like, I love it.
So you were saying a bit before about pressure. How do you deal with the pressure?
Sort of over the years has changed a little bit. I mean, when I was a bit younger, I didn't really deal with the pressure that well, because obviously you get nervous and don't know what's going to happen. But I think for me, you know, just getting on with it. You know, you can't. I always find when the gate drops, things change a little bit anyway. Like, you ride a bit subconscious, but with the pressure nowadays, I don't feel anything, because you've been in every situation imaginable, and I always think, well, as long as you do your best and you're not laying in a hospital bed on Sunday night like I have been a few times, then it's not a bad day at all.
Do you find that you're, like, the pressure, do you think that that's you just doing it to yourself, or do you find it from, like, just the situation around you?
Oh, 100%, it's all on your own shoulders.
Yeah.
I mean, some people say to me now, like, they feel pressure from outside, like, people or whatever. And I think, well, yeah, most of the time, the people that are putting pressure on you don't understand what you're going through enough to get it. Like, because it's not easy, you know.
Yeah.
No one can say you should do this, because what you do isn't always based on how you're riding, for example. Like, if I go to a race and win, or I finish 10, I could be riding exactly the same, but the other people that I'm racing are racing much better than I am.
Yeah.
So that's not always within your control. You can just control what you can do. And then as long as you're not doing stupid things or being dangerous or just riding underpath for whatever reason, then there's no reason why, you just got to go out, literally just do what you can do, and then at the end of it, you can put your expectation or whatever on it, and then try and deal with it for next week.
Sometimes people from the outside will say things to you, and they don't realise how much that sort of stuff can sort of affect you when you already got that pressure on yourself as well.
Yeah, definitely. People say things to me sometimes, or have done when I was younger, and I said, why have you just said that? Like,
yeah.
You didn't need to say that. But then you also realise, or I do a little bit, and I quite enjoy it now, but people say things sometimes to try and play mind games a little bit, and you don't know whether someone said that to play a mind game with you, I mean, more so at the top level, or they've done it, and you've just taken it sort of the wrong way. But I laugh at it now. If someone says something and I think, yeah, he was trying to play with me, it doesn't work. So, once you start to enjoy it, I mean, someone said to me once that nervousness and excitement is the same feeling. It's just how you interpret it. So if you feel nervous, if you can change that to being excited, then you're going to be fine.
What would be your most memorable moment?
I mean, I don't know, there's been so many. But probably for my most memorable, probably that Nations weekend in Italy when we won mixed races. And probably, because it wasn't just a GP as well, it's for the Nations, so there's a lot more sort of supporters for it. That'll probably be what people remember me for, essentially, like in years to come. But yeah, that weekend, and then obviously you remember vividly like my first Grand Prix when I was just 17. That was a big memory. My first British Championship race win, another big memory. I mean, the first time I ever rode a sidecar, that is another big memory. But yeah, probably the Nations win.
People say the first time they rode a sidecar was their hardest. Would you say yours was?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely. Like, we rode really small sidecars, like when we were younger, like pit bike sort of sidecars, but just in a field. So we sort of had an idea that we got thrown straight in at the deep end. We went to a track in France on the beach, in literally beach sand, and just went, off you go on then, figure it out. And we were riding around the track the wrong way, we were crashing, we couldn't get round, and we just spent 2 days just struggling. And to me, at the time, I hated it, but when I look back on it now, we made so much progress in that weekend because we were literally just thrown out there and just get on with it. And crash, struggle, get stuck, get unstuck, keep going. And then by the end of it, we were flying round. And it was like, yeah, we could have just said at that point, oh no, we can't ride around there, let's go home. Yeah, but I still see it now when people, they jump on a sidecar for the first time or a handful of times and they can't figure out how it turns and they're going straight on and just turn it. It will turn. It just doesn't feel like it's going to turn.
Yeah. Well, I've just started riding because I've just been a passenger for the last 2 years, and as soon as I got on and started riding, I was like, oh my God, it doesn't turn.
Yeah, it feels like it literally just wants to go straight on.
Yeah. It's definitely different to riding a solo, that's for sure.
Oh, 100%. We used to have a pedal bike sidecar as well.
Yeah.
And we used to take it to a sort of a pump BMX track round near us. And obviously people would want to have a go on it. And
that would have been carnage.
It was carnage. There was a straight that was slightly off cambered. So, it felt like the bike, like the chair was high. And then, but if you went off to the right side of the track, it went down the hill into some woods. And everyone that got on it, they'd get to that bit and then they'd feel like they would just go right because they didn't feel like the bike wanted to go straight. So they'd just ride straight down into the trees and we'd go, yeah, there's another one.
Yeah, when I hopped on, I was like, what the hell? I feel like even when I'd go over the whoops, it kept on, I don't know, I just felt like I don't know, because my husband was on the side and he doesn't know how to passenger, so he was probably in the wrong spot as well. But it just felt like I had no control of where we were actually going.
Yeah, but then once you spend more time behind the handlebars, I still remember that feeling. yeah, when like now I can jump on a sidecar and know exactly what it's going to do, when it's going to do, and I quite often think that if I try and do something else in life now, and I think I can't do that, and then I relate back to how impossible it felt first few times I rode a sidecar, and then you think, oh no, it is possible. You just got to try and figure it out.
Yeah, and just stick with it, I guess.
Yeah, hours and hours of practice.
Yeah. So GPs, what's that like? What's it like racing the GPs?
Oh, it's brilliant. Like, I remember someone saying to me when I was young, like a bit younger, maybe like sort of a couple of years before I went and done my first Grand Prix, that they're not what they seem to be. Like, people get there and they think, oh, it's, you know, the top of the sport. It's going to be sort of a bit like Hollywood, like you made it. There's going to be cameras and pictures and people are going to be watching at home and whatever. And then you very quickly realise that how physically fit you have to be to go and do them races and to actually try and enjoy them. Because if you're not fit and you're not on your game and you're not performing well, the whole weekend is so unenjoyable.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Because, you know, you're there and those guys don't give you half a second to be in the way, or it's like sink or swim basically.
Yeah.
So you've got a big shock, like, you know, your first couple of Grand Prix. Some people they do well straight away and then they're on the road, but yeah, that wasn't the case for me. But it's, yeah, once you, like for me now, I struggle to find interest to ride. Like, all I want to do is do GPs. It's the best people in the world. You're racing on the best tracks that we can ride at on sidecars. You're riding every condition. It's what everyone wants to go and do. And if you can come and get a satisfaction out of, you know, whether you're 5th, 6th, 10th, 15th, even if you're scoring points at a GP, you're still one of the top 20 riders in the world on a sidecar. So you can pull that satisfaction from that.
Yeah, well, what's the highest you guys got? 5th or something, didn't you?
Yeah, a couple of 5ths at the start of last season, and that was the first GP. And then obviously Ryan stopped riding pretty soon after that. So yeah, it's one of them where so many things have to come together and be good to be even finishing top 10 in GPs. And I feel like I've still got a lot of potential to unturn, because the highest we did ever finish was 5th, but I do feel like we could have done a lot better than that if we had carried on riding.
Yeah, well, you guys were sort of only just getting started, really, weren't you?
Yeah, exactly that. So, yeah, and I mean, the 5th place, I think we were still maybe a minute behind the guys that won the race. So, you know, they're really trucking on at the front.
I lost what I was going to say then. I'm like writing notes as I'm like talking to you, trying to remember what I was going to ask you. The GP tracks. What track did you find the most challenging?
It's difficult. I mean, the French tracks are like, when you go to a track that's fast, it's so intense, and that becomes difficult because obviously if you know, everyone starts the race at 100%. And if you try and knock it back 5% to try and reserve yourself, you just start going backwards.
Yeah, you probably lose
that
a lot.
For me is the hard. Yeah, that for me is the hardest sort of tracks, like French tracks. You've got sort of hard, fast, hard back tracks, and generally when we go there, it's really hot as well. So, you know, it's by the time you get to the GP races, especially the second race, it's literally lap by lap by lap. You've got to be like, right, keep going for one more lap, and then you do a lap and you think, all right, keep going for another lap. As much as you're suffering, they're suffering as well. So yeah, them ones, I mean, the sand GPs, they're difficult, but it's a lot of finesse and a lot of thinking. So, you know, you can go into, if you are smart when you ride, you don't have to put in, like, the intensity comes down. So for me, I find the sand GP is quite easy. But yeah, definitely the hard pack French or German rounds. They're the ones that are the most difficult.
Some of the jumps look pretty big. I think I watched one of your vlogs that you did, and you guys were, I can't remember where it was, but you were filming the jumps and they were huge.
Oh, it's terrifying. Honestly, still, like, yeah, when I first started going to Grand Prix, I'd be terrified walking the track and think, oh my God, that jump is massive. And it's got to a point now with the level that you have to do it. Like, if someone has been there before and done that jump, everyone's going to do it because everyone's good enough. And yeah, you walk it and you think, I need to stop looking at this jump because it's massive. And there's not the room for error. And I know that I've got to go and jump it. There's no, or maybe you'll just roll it and just get through the weekend like that. And then I thought maybe when you get to a high level, it's going to become like that'll go away, but it never does. Even when I've been to a track where I've already done them jumps before, I get there and I think, oh my God, I'm terrified.
Do you think everyone feels like that?
I think there's a few people that are maybe wired up a bit wrong, so they're not scared of it. But,
yeah, a bit crazy.
Yeah, but I mean the goalposts change a little bit because I remember, when I first start riding, then there are jumps now that I don't get worried about that I probably would have been worried about maybe 5 years ago. But now, I definitely think all the people, anyone that's hitting those big jumps has got a little bit of worriedness about them because, I mean, you know what it's like with a sidecar. You can't just jump onto the end of a big tabletop or something and just think, we'll go a little bit further next time.
Yeah, you got to do it properly.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
it's
you're
all or nothing.
Going. Yeah. So how do you get over that stuff? Do you just think, nah, just do it?
I've sort of accepted now that the first time you do it is just a guess, an estimated guess, but it is still just a guess. And I sort of try and work off the theory that jumping a little bit too far is better than jumping a little bit too short.
Okay, yep.
So I just get it in my head that, look, I need to do that jump. So I'll come around on the first lap and go, yeah, the run up to it's good. The second lap, I'll generally jump off it a little bit and go, yeah, the takeoff kick's all right. The landing's sort of quite far over there, so let's just hit it really fast and see where we land. And then,
have you come unstuck doing that?
Oh, yeah, I've been on my head quite a few times doing that, but as long as you've got someone that you trust on the side, then, you can get yourself out of some situations. But, sometimes we'll do a jump, like when I was riding with Ryan, we'd do a jump and then afterwards we were like, that could have been really bad. If we didn't if we didn't react like that at that time, that could have been quite bad. But, yeah, I have come unstuck, especially in the earlier days. I used to crash quite a lot on jumps.
Did you have any bad ones?
Yeah, I remember being 17 and an idiot riding the British Championship at Foxfields, where the British GP is this year. And it was quite renowned, like, it's a good jumpy track, blah, blah, blah. And there's quite a big step down jump. And I came round on the second lap of practice and thought, I'm just going to hit it. And came up short, massive crash, bent all the bike up, passenger was out for the weekend, and I was a bit like, oh, maybe I'll go on a third lap next time, not a second lap. Yeah, but then I've got away with more than I've actually had big crashes on, but yeah, I've had a few.
What do you reckon's been your worst crash?
I've had a couple of big crashes that I've got away with, like, without being injured. I mean, so I remember probably the one that sticks in my head the most is we were riding at Lommel in 2019, and I'd switched from a left-hand sidecar to a right-hand sidecar for that season. And we got a good start in the qualifying race, and it sort of went left off the start, and then it was a flat-out left, like a long sweeping left, and obviously it's really sandy there. And we were absolutely flat out in top gear on the Zarbel, and then I just just buried the front end in some sand, and it sent us so far. And I remember going through the air thinking, "Oh God, this is bad." And we landed, and I just rolled out of it. Couldn't find my passenger anywhere, but we were both absolutely fine, and the bike was fine. And I was like, "Whoa, that was bad." We got away with that one.
Yeah, lucky.
But any crashes that I've had that I've actually been injured from generally haven't been like crazy crashes. Like,
not spectacular ones.
No. I mean, the one where we done our backs was, we flew through the air a little bit, but it was only a start line crash. It wasn't anything crazy.
So you said you went from a left to a right. What was that like?
Horrible.
Yeah.
It was sort of like you can imagine, like riding a sidecar again, and you can't, you're not in control of what it's trying to do, or you can't predict what it's going to do. It's pretty much the same thing.
Like learning all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. So how come you did that?
So when the first year I ever rode a sidecar, when I was obviously on the small bike, that was on a left chair. And then the passenger that I was riding with is my stepbrother, so he's from England, but he didn't want to do it anymore. So then we were in a little bit of a situation where we were like, well, would it be more wise to go and ride a right chair? So I was like, I'm sort of open up for anything. I'll give anything a go. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So then I rode the second year, when I was still a kid, on a right chair for the whole season and done all right. But then, because for the following year that I could ride more in the UK, then I swapped back to a left chair again, and I was sort of, even though I'd been riding on a right chair and got a lot faster than I ever was on the left chair, when I jumped back onto a left chair, I was much faster than I was on the right, if that makes any sense.
Just felt more comfortable.
Yeah, more naturally, just sort of, that's what I like doing. So we rode a left chair up until 2018, and then I basically couldn't find a good passenger, and I thought, right, I would rather put the challenge on myself, because I know that I'll work hard to try and achieve whatever I'm trying to achieve. So I thought, I'm going to put the pressure on myself now, and I'm going to learn to ride a right chair instead of trying to bring on another passenger to ride with me on a left chair. So that was it. I got a right chair and then a full season of Grand Prix in it.
Do you think that having the right chair gave you more options for passengers that you could choose from, like, the other countries?
Yeah, it definitely did. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, if you needed a passenger to fill in for a weekend, then there was someone that could always get on and do it. But the problem that I found with it is, actually, I've only ever been like quite a small race team. Like, basically, I've done most of the work and everything myself. Like, so if I wanted to ride, obviously we were based in the UK, and I had a Dutch passenger. So every time I wanted to ride, I either had to go abroad, which is fine if you're going to the Grand Prix, or he would have to fly over and then get him from the airport, go practice him for a day, get him back to the airport, and then it was like a big ordeal. Whereas instead of just, if you ride a left chair and you can ride down the road with someone and, drive an hour, meet them there, ride for an hour and then go home. And it's simple. So that for me was the most difficult thing, and probably the reason why I didn't stick with it.
The passengers, are they fussy about which side they go on?
Yeah, I think for a passenger it's even worse than a rider.
Oh, okay.
Because it is, even the muscles and muscle memory and everything is completely different. Like, yeah, I've jumped on a right sidecar with a passenger that normally rides on the left sidecar, and they were finding it a lot more difficult than I was riding.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, there's not really that many people that can do both, or that have switched to both, and I think the reason for that is it is just so much different.
Yeah, I saw you've been passengering a bit.
Oh, yeah.
What's that like, being on the other side?
Yeah, I do enjoy it. It's just I only enjoy going fast if I'm passengering. Like, for example, I jump on with Hodges or Kinge or someone like that, and I just want to go fast, but I essentially can't do it. So, like, I just get beaten up basically for the whole time I'm on the bike, and then get off, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. Let's do that again. Like, I like that sort of challenge. So, but I have thought about, you know, if you weren't riding, whether to swap and be a passenger. But I just think you're good at what you're good at. Like, it would take me such a long time to become a good passenger. But it's, you know, stick to what you're good at.
I think I like being a passenger better than riding. Like, I ride solo, but I think it's more thrilling being the passenger. I don't know why. Probably because it's more scary. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is a completely different form of motorsport, isn't it? Because you're essentially, I mean, people think that a passenger isn't in much control, but a passenger actually has a whole lot more control than what people really realise.
Yeah, and I think you realise that too if you've ridden and been a passenger, because when I started riding, I was like, whoa, I can really feel when the person on the side is not where they're meant to be.
Yeah, I always say that if a rider's trying to go left, for example, and a passenger wants to go right, the bike will always go where the passenger wants it to go.
Yeah.
Not where the rider wants it to go.
Yeah, well, yesterday I actually was riding my sidecar with my 4-year-old as a passenger, and she was standing right in the middle. And I went to turn left, and the whole chair flipped up, and I nearly flicked her out the bloody sidecar. I was like, oh my God, worst parent in the world award goes to me.
No, that's best parent in the world.
She loved it. As soon as it went down, I looked at her and I was like, oh my God. And she goes, do it again. I was like, oh my God, no.
That's brilliant.
Oh, my husband's like, what are you doing? Oh, she loved it.
Yeah.
She thought it was great, but I was like, crap my pants. I was like, oh my God, imagine if I flicked her out.
But then that's a good example of how, like, if she would have stepped into, like, the D to go left, the bike would have gone left.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect example of a 4-year-old just being slightly out as a passenger has caused the bike to do that.
Yeah, and it wasn't even going that fast or anything. I did not expect it to do that. I shit myself. I was like, oh my God. Imagine if I flung her out. She thought it was great.
Yeah, she'd have got back on, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, she thought it was so good.
Oh, pretty good.
So what do you reckon's been your biggest challenge so far?
For me, like, challenge-wise, is because I always, like, wanted to do Grand Prix and whatever, it's more the stuff off the bike that I find more challenging than on the bike, like trying to prepare everything, like make sure the bike's ready, truck's ready, everything's paid for, and actually getting to the races. That's the bit that I find most difficult.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. I don't think people even realise, and it takes, especially if you're working and, you know, you've got a life, you know, you're not getting paid to just live that life. You've still got a normal life to live, and to have the time to fit all that stuff in is crazy.
Yeah, exactly that. I think, yeah, it is a real challenge because there's not the money in the sport. Like, well, I can only speak on sort of my experience of it, but there isn't the money in the sport, so you end up, you know, I'm trying to work to pay for the racing as well as sort everything out to be able to go racing, to still be physically fit enough so that when you go racing you're competitive, and try not to burn yourself out so that you're knackered when you get there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a line that you have to try and walk really fine. And, you know, if you could pay someone a part-time wage to maintain your bike, or maintain one thing that you're trying, like take something off your plate, that would be great, but it's not really something that's realistic. So, yeah, I mean, everyone has to do it, and I think the difficult thing as well is when it is stressful like that, is trying to maintain a good relationship within the team you've got, because, you know, when you haven't slept for 24 hours and you're trying to drive home for a GP, and
yeah, everyone's
all that sort of
on edge.
It's easy to, like, to be a dick, basically.
Yeah.
So that's something that you've got to, I've had to try and learn to try and manage it and remember what you're trying to do it for and all that sort of stuff. But, I mean, there's also challenges on the bike. You realise, like I said, going to Grand Prix, how fit you have to be. And that isn't just the case of, you have to live for it big time. Like, the first few years I went to Grand Prix, I look back on how I used to train, and I think I train more now that I'm not riding, essentially, than I used to train then. And I thought then I was training properly, and I wasn't. I was doing maybe an hour and a half of training a week, and that was almost not worth doing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you always look back and think, what the hell was I thinking? Like, the more you learn, the more you think, geez, I didn't really know nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I think, how could I expect? I remember one winter thinking, right, I don't really get out of breath when I ride, so I'm going to just do strength training all winter. And then I got to the first time I rode, and I'd done 2 laps, and I thought, oh my God, that training has not worked. I couldn't even breathe, and I thought, what an idiot.
Yeah, but too late now. You got to suffer.
Yeah, but exactly. But I think them sorts of lessons, when people can give you advice, but you don't, or for me, I don't learn until I've done it myself and thought, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Hopefully you can try and pass that on to stop someone else from making that mistake one day. But
so you've got to travel a lot to go to those races. Like, what's the longest you travel?
I mean, yeah. So say we're going to race in Holland or whatever. That's 5 or 6. Like, we always say it. So because we come from the UK, we'll say 5 or 6 hours. So that's from when we get off the ferry in France. Like, we'll say, right, that's 5 or 6 hours. But if we leave home at 6 p.m, we're not off the ferry until maybe 5 hours later. So we've always got 5 hours until we're in Europe travelling. And then we've been to Portugal, which was probably maybe a 24-hour total trip. Latvia and Estonia, and that's, if your wheels on your truck are moving the whole time, 24 hours you're there. And the same, maybe Latvia, Estonia, that sort of thing, maybe a bit longer, 30 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
And generally I'm spending a whole lot of that time behind the steering wheel myself.
Yeah, you must be pretty buggered by the time you get there.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not advised. Like, for me, I wish I wouldn't have had a driving licence, and then I'd have had an excuse.
Need a chauffeur.
Yeah, but
you need to hire a personal assistant.
Exactly that. Yeah, that's exactly what you need to do. But it's such a, people have to do it for the love.
Yeah,
there's definitely no money involved. So, but yeah, I've been fortunate to have some really good people help me with stuff like that.
Yeah.
And but there have also been times, like I remember the hottest Grand Prix in 2023 was in Czech. So that was, how many hours? Maybe 14, probably a 17-hour round trip, that one was. And I drove all the way there on the Thursday, drove through the night, Thursday night, got there, raced the Grand Prix, and it was about 40 degrees. And I was absolutely dead. Like, I've never been so dead. I hate, that track is difficult anyway at Lockett. And then I drove all the way home.
Wow.
Got home at midday on Monday and hadn't slept at all.
And then you got to get up and go to work the next day.
Yeah. And I was ill for 2 weeks. And I thought, that was too much.
Yeah.
I've done too much then. But without that, I had to be back for work because I needed the money, and I just had to travel. So if I wasn't driving, the truck was stopped and we weren't going anywhere.
To travel to all those different countries, do you have to have different types of? So to race here, we have to have a national race license.
Yeah.
So do you guys have that sort of stuff?
Yeah, basically we have. I don't really know how it works, but I obviously get a national license from the UK.
Yeah.
and then through that, I'll then buy an FIM license, which covers me for the World Championships. But then sometimes, like, I can ride a Dutch National Championship or a German National Championship off of my FIM license.
Okay.
But if I want to ride, like, and if you go practicing, sometimes you can ride off your FIM license. But then, say for example, like the last couple of years, I've done quite a lot of French championships. I couldn't ride that off my FIM license, so I'd have to then get a French national license.
Yeah.
As well. So I don't really know how it works, but I've sort of just figured out now. You can generally ride them places on your FIM license, and them places you can't. You have to have a different one.
Yeah. And do the rules vary? Like the rules for racing, like the different, I don't know, what's allowed, like the tracks and like.
No, it's all pretty much. To be honest, I don't think I've ever read a rule book, so I wouldn't actually know. But but no, I think it's all pretty much the same sort of thing, really. Yeah. I mean, sometimes the French make the rules up as they go along and suit themselves, but that's just French people for it. So.
Talking with Brian Anthony, like he was saying when he went over that half of those tracks would never even be allowed to be ridden on here.
No,
because
I don't know. It's just sort of all I really know. But
yeah, because just sometimes, like
I don't actually know that. I mean, we have rules with track whips and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In terms of what you're allowed to do, if they said that track rides off the side of that mountain, then they go, well, yeah, you got to do it, I suppose. I'm guessing they just follow the regulations from general motocross, like solos and stuff like that. So they just follow the crowd.
So, who has been your biggest influence?
Oh, I mean, my stepdad is like, he lives and breathes motocross and sidecars, and he's one of the people that sort of really makes it happen. So I think I've been quite fortunate where the first few years of racing were, like, he was the biggest influence. And what that sort of taught me is that you can make anything happen if you really want it to. So when I've been racing the last few years and stuff, it's mainly been on my own back. So I've had to, like, sort of influence myself, if you know what I mean. But a lot of that has been able to be made happen by being around people that are able to make anything happen.
So did he race?
Yeah, he raced, like, he used to do some Grand Prix and stuff like that. And he gets all the sort of stuff. But he's just mad. Like, when we think of some of the stuff that he used to do, like, because we were running like a 2-bike team essentially when we were still really young and basically couldn't help whatsoever. And we're driving around Europe with 2 bikes and, you know, just making the maddest things happen. Like, you realise that if you want to go, anything's possible. Yeah, and then in terms of influences in terms of like racing and stuff like that, it's a little bit difficult because I always find it difficult to relate my exact situation to, you know, you see people, you don't really see the ins and outs of what people get up to. And because for me, the hardest part about going racing isn't the riding. It's sort of, I find it quite difficult to be influenced or relate that to anyone else that I see doing the same sort of thing.
You're coming to Australia, aren't you?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do, yeah.
Yeah, whereabouts are you, you going to come down to SA and try and get on with someone?
Well, I've been speaking to Brian a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
Had a few passing messages with Brian, yeah. I mean, I saw, is it the Murray Williams Cup?
Yeah, Murray Williams Cup, yeah. We normally have that in October, yeah.
Yeah, so I sort of got it in my head a little bit that obviously I'm not really racing, or I'm not racing sidecars at all this year. Well, that's the plan at the moment anyway. But so sort of in my head, I'd quite like to come to Australia to work, and like I'm sort of managing to sort something out at the moment. But I was speaking to Brian, and he was saying, yeah, there's a race on the 19th of October. And I was thinking, I think I could make that happen. So But yeah, we'll see closer to the time. But yeah, I've been speaking to Brian a little bit about doing a little bit of riding. I never got a chance to ride with Brian when he came over before. So that is
that
something
would be
that
cool.
I would really like to do.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I get on with Brian quite well, and it was just because he was over during the race season, and we don't really get a lot of time to practice. Then, yeah, but he was messaging me as well last year when Ryan decided that he didn't want to ride anymore, and he was saying, "Look, you know, typical Brian Anthony. Do you need me to get on a plane?"
Yeah, spontaneous.
I said, "You're mad. You're absolutely mad." And for me, that has been probably the biggest pressure. Yeah, but I know exactly, like, from listening to him and speaking to him, how much he sacrifices every time he comes over.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want that pressure of, you know, getting someone to come over and then letting them down or something like that. So.
He'd just be stoked to be able to be there and racing because he's so keen, and we just don't have enough, like, people just doing it here, so it makes it hard.
Yeah, I wouldn't write off seeing me and Brian on the start line at a Grand Prix at some point.
Okay, we'll hold you to that one. He'll be listening in going, oh, okay, yep.
Yeah. If he said the first Grand Prix in a month, let's go.
You'll be getting, as soon as I upload this, you'll be getting a bloody phone call probably.
Yeah, no problem.
So funniest moments. What would be one of the funniest moments you've experienced racing?
Oh God! Every time we go away, it's just like we have so much fun all the time in bad situations, good situations. I couldn't even think of much off the top of my head. Like, most of them involve things that shouldn't be funny being funny, like people hurting themselves,
like Mike's bloody bum.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, we've had whole weekends, like when we said about when we both broke our backs. That was at a French international race, and it was on a Thursday, I think. And like me and Ryan, I'm the sort of person that every time I've been injured, I don't know whether it's because I'm scared or whatever, but I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like, leave me alone, I'm absolutely fine, whatever. So Ryan's being carted off into the medical centre or whatever, and I've walked myself over there, and I'm thinking, my back is really hurting. And essentially, we both got to the hospital, and he didn't know that I was going to the hospital. And, you know, we're being wheeled around, just looking at the ceiling, like we haven't got a clue where we are, just hearing French people. And I've just heard an English voice, and I thought, it can't be. I was like, Ryan? He's like, Dan? But where are you? And obviously we can't move our heads to look at each other either. And we're trying to explain to them that we know each other. So they put us next to each other in our beds, and we are just dying laughing. Like, we can't stop laughing. We're like, what have we done? Like, what is going on? And he's been there for hours. They've been helping him try and go to the toilet, and he can't move. And, it was brilliant.
So
it was such a bad situation that we were laughing our heads off. It was so funny.
So he got taken off first, so he didn't know that you were there?
No.
Oh.
No, I've been there for like 2 hours, like just looking at the ceiling, being taken here, there and everywhere. And then, yeah, next thing you know, I was like, I think that's right. So we just got parked up next to each other, and it's great.
Oh, God. So would you say that's the worst injury you've had?
No. When I was 17, it was the last Grand Prix of the year, it was just a little crash, but the grab rail squashed, like, my belly.
Ow.
And, yeah, that was really bad. Like, basically, I crashed, and I thought, oh, that was alright. And then the bike hit me, and it hit me in the stomach, but I felt it hit my back, and I thought, oh, fuck, this is bad.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, no, I'm fine. I'll go out in the next race and sort it out. And then they were like, no, you're not going out in the next race. And I was sort of thinking, oh, God, like, let's get out of here. We need to go home. So we went we went for a scan quick, and then I've come back. The doctors come in the room, and they sort of looked at me, and I smiled and whatever, and then they walked back out again and looked at the room again, then came back in, and they said, "Are you Dan?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, the injuries that you have on this bit of paper, you shouldn't be laying here smiling at me."
Oh, God.
And they said, your pancreas is split, your spleen's bleeding, your stomach's bleeding, your kidneys are bleeding, your livers are bleeding. And I was like, oh right, okay, what does that mean? And they're like, well, we're gonna move you to a different hospital, like now. And I sort of said, well, you know, because I was in Holland, I was like, well, can I not go home and then go to hospital? Because I feel fine.
So you weren't in pain?
Well, I was in pain, but maybe in a little bit of denial. Like, I always imagined if you've got all these injuries, you'd be laying there, not being able to move whatsoever. Yeah, and they said, yeah, you can go home if you want, but you're going to be dead by the time you get there.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, oh, right, yeah, we'll stay here then, shall we? So then I had, the pancreas was the worst bit because it was completely like torn in half and all the fluids were going into my body. So, but they didn't pick up on this for like a couple of days, like properly. So I didn't eat for 3 days, and then I had an operation on the Tuesday because they realised, oh, it's actually quite a lot worse than we thought. So I had an operation then, and then after that I sort of felt alright, came round, and then I was declining again. So after another couple of days, they were like, oh, well, what's going on? And basically all the fluids were still, they'd removed half my pancreas, but it wasn't sealed essentially, like how they described it. So all these fluids were going into my body still, and it was making me really ill. And then I remember, like, they rushed me down to a little operating room and didn't put any anaesthetic in or anything, literally just cut me open and put a drain into my, like, belly. And there was 5 litres of, like, pancreatic fluid that just came out.
That would have been traumatic.
Like, that was horrible.
Yeah.
I was screaming, like, absolutely screaming. I thought, this can't be right. And, yeah, like, that pain, I can't even really remember that much from that week.
Yeah, you probably went into shock.
Pain. Yeah, and then I managed to, after a week, they let me be transported home. And then I ended up having to spend like another 2 or 3 weeks in hospital in the UK. And then it took me the best part of the year to actually properly get over that injury.
Yeah, wow. And what, everything's all good now?
Yeah, absolutely fine now. I've got a scar to prove it, and then that's about it. And pancreas still works fine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, wow.
It made a full recovery, so it was alright. Back to it as soon as I could.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
The back injury ended up being not too bad. Neither of us needed it. At the start, it was like, you're going to need surgery and blah, 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 blah. And then after a while, they sort of said, oh, no, we'll let it heal and see how you get on. And then it was, it was fine.
You get back on the bike, do you get a bit, like, anxious? Or doesn't it worry you?
A little bit. With the stomach injury I had, that scared me a little bit. But I think only because I was so young and that was literally my first injury. Whereas when I done my back, like, I was so keen to get back on a bike. But I think I ended up riding like 5 weeks later or something like that at a British Championship round. And I was so keen to get back on a bike and go racing. It was like, well, this isn't normal. And I wasn't meant to be riding. I thought, I'm just going to go and ride. Like, if I want to ride, I'm going to go and ride. So I went and got a passenger and done it. And I think we finished 3rd overall or something like that. I was like, yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, that first ride probably just you get that out of the way and then it's just back to normal again.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, I sort of try and look at it a little bit that we all do a sport that's dangerous, but as long as you can understand that, it's not dangerous until it goes wrong. So just maybe try and stop it from going wrong.
People always say to me, I can't believe you do that. But I just think, well, I'm doing dangerous things safely. So I'm wearing all the gear. I'm doing everything that I can possibly do to be as safe as I can when I do it. So you can't do any more than that.
Mean, all the bikes are going the same way around the track. You've got ambulances there and whatever that can sort you out if there is a problem. I've never ridden a bike on the road, and that is simply because that my safety is not in my hands if you're riding a bike on the road.
Oh yeah, you got to ride like everyone's trying to kill you.
Exactly that. So I'm not interested in that. Whereas, I've ridden at times. There's been 2 years between crashes for me. So you've done maybe 40 races in that time between having a proper crash, and you think, well, that's more safe than going to work. Well, I hurt myself more at work than I do on a motorbike generally. So whether that's saying something about me at work or whether that's saying something about me on a motorbike, I'm not sure.
So we have a race here. We ride on the road with sidecars. So you ride on like public road, and then you go to like a section and you do like an endurance sort of section. When you're over here, you might be able to jump on and do one of those.
I'm open to anything.
And what about the 24-hour?
Yeah, whatever. I'll do whatever.
Yeah, because I think we had a couple of guys from the UK come over and do the 24-hour last year. I think they made it, actually.
Yeah, I would be open to doing absolutely anything.
It's different.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah, it is. But hopefully if I can get over in October, that's like the plan at the moment. Obviously a few things have to fall into place, but I've said for years, I hate working in the UK in the winter. There's no riding going on. The weather's rubbish. It's freezing cold. I work outside. I think every year I say this is the last year I'm doing this. So with me not planning on riding this year, I might be able to try and sort a few things out and actually make it happen.
If you come here in October, you'll be ready for our bloody summer. It gets to like 45, 47 degrees. You'll get a shock.
Oh, it's lovely. I was over in for 3 weeks in January.
Okay.
In Brisbane.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was enough to sell it to me. I'd much rather be hot than cold.
Yeah.
Like, I've always been like that. I hate being cold.
You live in the wrong country.
I know. I've been saying it for years.
So, what would be your favourite thing about racing sidecars?
I think for me, like, whether it's the same in Australia, but it's just such a big community. Like, all of my best friends essentially are from motocross and from sidecars. Like, you get to go away, you get to do something that you love, you get to see people that you like, and why would you want to do anything else? Like, that's exactly for me. Like, even though I'm not riding, I still go. Like, I still go to the races, still try and help people, still see people. So for me, that's exactly what it is, and it's just a bonus that I've managed to become to a level that I can be good at it. So yeah, that's just a bonus. But for me, it's seeing all my family go.
Yeah, it's a big community, that's for sure. We're the same here. I couldn't wait. I was like, I can't wait for race season to start to see all my moto friends. It's boring. Exactly. Otherwise, it's like, oh, this is boring.
Yeah. Spending a lot of time with people I don't have anything in common with.
Yeah. And it's like, you just want to talk to people about motorbikes.
Yeah, because people that don't do it don't generally get it.
Yeah, and they're looking at you like, huh?
Yeah, I think you're an idiot.
So I'm guessing your whole family supports what you do, and like, what about people outside of the actual motocross thing? What do they think of what you do?
Yeah, so like my family, so I've got like my close family. My sister's with Mike Hodges, so he's essentially like my brother-in-law. So he's riding like all of the races that we normally ride at as well. My stepbrother is George Kinge, so he's, we're all doing the same thing. So yeah, we're all generally going to the same places and whatever. Yeah, my girlfriend, she isn't anything to do with motocross, but her family still love it. Like, they get along when they can and always ask what's going on, and they think it's mad, but they sort of just accepted it for what it is.
Have you got her on the sidecar yet?
Yeah, she done just over a lap when we were in Spain one time, and that was only because she done her lap and she wanted to pull in, and I wouldn't let her. So we done a few more corners, and she was screaming at me because her legs were completely dead, and she was like, "I'm going to be off this thing in a minute." And I was like, "No, you'll be all right. You'll be all right." She's, I think, on the verge of tears at one point.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, I thought my life's not going to be worth living if I carry on, so let's stop. but yeah, she's been all around Europe and, yeah, sort of just lived the life as well. So, you know, when we first started saying to her parents, like when we were 18 or whatever, like, "Oh, we're driving to Belgium or we're driving to Holland." They're like, "When?" "Now. We're on the way there now." They're like, "All right, when are you going to be there?" They said, "I don't know, about 3 o'clock in the morning." They're like, "You guys are crazy. When are you going to be back? In a week?" Like, "No, it's like tomorrow." Like, "Oh, so you're going there for a day?" Like, "Yeah." I think normal people just can't really comprehend that. But
Yeah. So who do you reckon you've had your best battles with out on the track, like, over all the years?
oh, it's sort of, yeah, it goes in phases a little bit. Like, so I actually spent quite, like, the first, obviously, I mentioned that we used to run 2 bikes as a team when, like, for the first few years that we were riding. And that was with, I was riding one bike and George King was riding the other bike. And we used to, for maybe 4 or 5 years, we would always find ourselves on the same bit of the track at the same time, the same lap times, the same, like, everything. So we were always just battling each other. And that was pretty cool in a way. But then also not pretty cool because
when you get home, you're probably having punch-ups.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, you don't want to take each other out or ruin each other's weekend. Like, so that was a little bit difficult. But I've had some really good races with the Prunier brothers over the last couple of years. Like, for some reason, the French guys, you've probably seen their videos of them whipping their Sidecar about and all that sort of stuff. And they're really moving now, but for some reason, just in, like, they're one of them teams that you can really race hard with, and they give it as well as they take it, and they get off at the end of the race and they shake hands, and they're sort of a good team to race against. But yeah, it sort of goes in phases. You'll have a season where you'll keep having run-ins with certain people, and then the next season you won't, you know, something else will happen and you won't see them much. So I haven't just had one main rival, but I've had some really nice battles. We've had some nice battles with one of the German teams that have taken me out a couple of times. So that generally happens, and then you have to take them out a little bit a couple of times back.
Do you find that racing with those, like, top guys, that it's more aggressive like that?
I actually find the closer you get to the front, the more, like, I find there's a line between hard, fair racing and something that's unfair.
Yeah.
And when you get towards the front, they're more on the more respectful side of that line. Like, you can race really hard and really close, but you're generally not just going to be taken out by someone because they're so in control of what they're doing. Whereas when you're a bit further back and you've got teams that are a little bit less in control, possibly a little bit more desperate or reckless, then you can just be punted off the track out of nowhere, and you think, what was that all about? Like, they've just completely taken you out for no reason. So I actually prefer to race at the front with the faster guys because you feel a bit safer.
What happens when that happens? Do people, like, get in, like, fisticuffs after the race or anything?
Yeah, some people do. We had it at the Nations last year, sorry. I was riding with Josh Chamberlain, and that was probably one of the rare occasions where he just got absolutely punted by one of the faster teams. And I sort of rode back, and I'm the sort of person that I'll deal with it in the next race, or what happens on the track stays on the track. And then, you know, if we're in a situation in the next race, then I'll sort sort of give it as well as we've taken it. But yeah, he didn't. We rode past him at the end of the race, and I've looked around. I thought, where's he gone? He's hanging off the front of the guy's crash helmet. There's people trying to pull them apart.
Oh no!
Whatever. And I'm thinking, I was like, yeah, good stuff. I like doing that sort of stuff, but yeah, I mean, I generally try not to hit people's passengers. Like, even if, for example, my passenger's been hit quite hard, I generally won't try and take it out on their passenger.
Yeah.
Because essentially, it's not them that's done it, and you don't want to be throwing a 200 kilo bit of machinery straight in the back of someone. Because to me, that's unfair. But it does happen accidentally sometimes, but you can normally tell the difference between it being an accident or it being on purpose.
It'd be pretty risky to bump people too, because that's how you both end up crashing sometimes.
Yeah, to be honest, I've sort of figured it out. I've figured it out quite well now. That,
how to bump people without crashing.
Yeah. Bump people safely, yeah. So, like, you can sort of hit their bike in a certain place that will put them off, not off track, but it might make them miss a line or something like that. And I think, to me, all that sort of stuff's fair game. I've learned it because people have done it to me.
Yeah.
And if they hit your bike, like if you hit the frame sort of just behind where the sidecar wheel is when you're going into a left corner, it will push the sidecar wheel up and make you move over it right. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I've learned that because I've had that done to me. And someone will do it to me and I'll go, yeah, what have they just done there? And I'll figure it out myself and then use it to my own advantage at times. But yeah, you do sort of learn it a bit. But then, yeah, sometimes you come together and you both crash, or, you know, one person comes off worse than someone else.
Yeah, well, I've been flicked off because people tried to overtake us and hit our the passenger hit our handlebars and flicked the front wheel, and then I was stepping out left and I just went flinging off the side because the whole bike just flicked and twisted.
That's what's dangerous. You don't want to be getting your handlebars near someone else's bike.
Yeah, well, I got run over as well, so that sucked for me.
Oh, well.
Because you get flicked off, flick off the front and then go under the bloody chair wheel.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Oh, it sucks.
As long as you get back on. And
no, I got back on. With all the skin missing off my arm.
Just another memory in the books. That's
oh, yeah. It's like, what's on your helmet? Oh, just some tyre marks. If you could go back and do anything different, what would it be?
I think I would have... I've tried to do it a few times, but it's always gone wrong. But I would have moved to Holland when I was 14. That's how I'd have done it. And completely... I know that you'd have essentially left all the life behind that you've sort of built now, but that's exactly how I'd have done it. When I was 14, I'd have gone and moved to Holland and then lived out there. And then essentially all the extra driving, the ferry crossings, all that stuff would have just been something that you've never had to deal with. And I think if I would have put the same amount of effort into like all that sort of stuff, if I could have channeled that more into the riding and the training, then, you know, in theory, you should have been able to achieve a bit more. But
all that extra stuff, because it gives you just all that extra pressure and time wasted that you could be doing, you know, your training and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly that. And like I said, I've tried to do it a couple of times, but obviously when you're younger, it's a lot easier. Like, I was trying to go over there sort of about the time that I broke my back and had to come home, and I was trying to live in the truck and trying to find somewhere to go and get a job because you need to be earning money. And all that was so much more difficult, like, especially as the UK have left the EU in the last few years, which has made it a lot more difficult. So, yeah, it was sort of when I was trying to do it, it was all at the wrong time, and then things happened wrong, and then it just didn't happen. But
so at the moment, I've seen a few clips of you on a quad.
Yeah.
Are you racing a quad this year?
I think I haven't really got much of a plan, but that's probably what's going to end up happening. I mean, it's such a difficult situation, really. I haven't really spoken to anyone about it much, but I suppose now's the time and the place that because going racing costs so much time and money and sacrifice and whatever, I can't find a top passenger to ride with. So I've sort of had to make a decision that I'm not going to keep trying to ride on a sidecar and spending loads of money just to ride, at a lower level. Like, yeah, I just can't. I really struggle to justify it in my head. So
yeah.
I bought a quad while I was throwing a strop with Sidecar last year, and then it was actually just a couple of weeks before I bought this quad, and I thought I'm going to ride it towards the end of last year, and then about 3 days later, it all got decided that I was doing the Nations with Josh, and I was like, oh, right, okay, well, I bought this quad now for no reason. And then, now it's sort of a bit of a situation where I'm not racing Sidecar this year, but if I race a quad, I'm still at all the same races, I'm still fit, I'm still sharp, so that if something did happen, then I could jump straight back on the Sidecar and be straight back in.
Like, how come you can't find a passenger? Is there just no one around, or hard?
There's a little bit of a gap, like with, it's difficult. There's a gap between sort of the older generation of passengers, which we're almost clinging on to, which are gone or going now, and the gap between younger passengers that are coming up. I mean, if money wasn't an issue, for example, or the time, then I would happily say, like, I'll get the bike, ride with, like, a younger passenger that needed to be brought on, essentially, and help them make some progress. But the problem is I have to sacrifice so much stuff to go riding, whether it's actually easier for me to go and do Grand Prix than it is just to go and ride sort of national level, because you still need to be able to, like, take the bike places to work on it, and all of that stuff for me is, like, a lot more difficult than people probably realise. So, yeah, like, I would step back and help bring people on, but it's just sort of not really an option. So
yeah, and then you got to start again, and then they might not like it. And then you've wasted all that time, and it's like, oh, bugger.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of situations where I have tried to bring a passenger on or whatever, and then after a year, they're like, oh no, I'm not riding again next year. And you think, well, I've made no progress. So I've sort of managed to find a little bit where I'm riding the quad at the same races as the Sidecars. At the moment, I can watch, like, I can almost help other people, like, because I can watch them and give them advice and help to bring them on, and then essentially you might be able to find the potential there for a passenger.
So you're scouting.
Yeah, basically, and not just for the passengers. Like, I'm trying to help the riders as well, like, in sort of any way you can. But obviously there are going to be passengers that come through. But the way I see it at the moment, it's probably there's too much of a gap, like, between the ride that they're riding with and the jump to come and ride with me, that it's almost not beneficial for them to ride with me just yet. So I'm almost better off sitting out for a year or whatever and waiting to see what happens. And then from there, then I can make a decision on next year or whatever. Yeah. There's not really much of a plan at the moment. The plan is no plan.
So so your main goal is to ride the GPs. Have you ever ridden the Western Beach race?
No, never. It's always something that I've wanted to do, but it's normally a couple of weeks at the end, like after the end of our season. So by the time I get to the end of the season, I'm like, I don't want to go near another sidecar for about a month. And because it's like a lot of preparation and stuff, like I wouldn't just want to go and get my race bike out and just ride it around Western Beach Race.
Yeah, to get wrecked.
So I've never got round to it. And I've always said, if I'm doing Western Beach Race, I'm doing it to win it. So I want to do it properly.
Yeah, that's my
So,
dream race. I've seen so many videos and I think that looks absolutely brutal. I would love to do that.
yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've been and watched once, and yeah, it's definitely on the bucket list. And every year I say that I'm going to do it this year, and then by the time I get round to it, I'm so busy doing other stuff, or I can't say in July or August that I can commit to this race in September just because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason why I haven't done it. But maybe this year could be the year. I don't even know when it is.
It just looks so brutal. Some of the videos you see, people have like completely bogged. Sidecars are like flipping over trying to get them out of the holes, and people are crashing into each other. And
Yeah, I mean, everyone tells me it's done it, it's really enjoyable. But when I've watched it, I sort of think, I don't really know how it's enjoyable, but I'll believe you. You got to try it to believe it, I suppose.
It's probably one of those races where it's so hard that you hate it while you're doing it, but at the end, when you finish, you're just absolutely buzzing because you just got through it.
Yeah, just the satisfaction of what you've done, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll see you over here at some point, doing Western Beach racing.
I wish. I'm terrified of flying. I don't know why. The last few years, I've just got so scared of flying. I don't want to fly anywhere. Otherwise, I would have already come there.
You're happy to get run over by your own sidecar riding around a dirt track, but worried about flying.
Yeah, I don't know why. And I used to fly everywhere all the time. Like, I lived in Thailand because I was a professional Muay Thai fighter for years. And I flew all around Australia.
I'll make sure not to ram you, though.
Do a big, I'll be hanging off the side, big head kick as you go past. But yeah, I flew everywhere and I had to fly and I trained fighters and flew everywhere for that. But I don't know, just the last couple of years I've just been like, yeah, no, I don't want to fly. But I don't know. I don't know if I went to the doctors and got some Valium, probably I could just knock myself out and fly over.
Yeah, make it happen. It's got to be easier than coming on a boat.
Yeah. Oh, God, I wouldn't last 5 seconds on a boat. Be bloody seasick. So what do you think are the key skills to be successful?
Hard work, I think. I think anyone could be successful in sidecars if you if you know that's what you want to do and you just focus on doing that every single day, then it's not actually that bad to try and become a good top level sidecar rider. Obviously, you got to live in the right place. Generally, helps. But yeah, but again, Brian's a perfect example that just because you live on the other side of the world doesn't mean you can't make it happen.
I guess it's just what you're willing to sacrifice.
Exactly that. You've got to be willing to sacrifice everything. That's how I've always done it. I've absolutely lived and breathed it.
Yeah. Well, that's how we did with our Muay Thai. Like, we worked jobs we hated because it fit in with training. We lived in a crappy house. We had a bloody milk crate as our coffee table with a plank of wood over it because we spent all of our money on training, on supplements, all that stuff. We had sheets hanging up in our windows as curtains. Like, we just lived to the absolute minimum that you could live. And yeah, just everything that we did, all our money, all of our time, everything went into that. And then, we moved to Thailand to live there, and we'd live there for a year, train, fight, come back to Australia, work for 6 months, go back over there, live again for a year, and we just did that. And otherwise you can't do it properly.
Yeah, that's obviously a crazy way of living, but if you want something that bad, you're going to be successful. Yeah. You're always going to be successful. I mean, some people are lucky that obviously, they get help from, I know that some of the European riders and stuff, they have it essentially easier than what I've had it. But, yeah, you just need to be so focused on racing and fitness and learning and trying to better yourself all the time that if you do that, it's not going to take long for you to leapfrog past those people, and then you get opportunities that you get because people... Where it's such a small sport, you see people coming with potential, from a mile off. So you would people really stand out when they put effort in. Then yeah, essentially you get the opportunities and you will make it.
Do you think that being young when you start is like helps, or do you think people can sort of, make it if they start when they're in their 30s or something like that?
I think you can make it when you start whenever. Like, I think, in my opinion, I've got this idea of if I had a kid and wanted to make them into a Sidecar world champion, but I think I wouldn't have them ride in a Sidecar until they were maybe 17 or 18, because I think there's more benefit that, did you see it when you've got a good solo motocross rider and they decide to ride a Sidecar, they make progress so fast because they obviously know how to ride a solo really well. So, and like, especially in the UK and whatever, you've got a lot more opportunity to race on a solo and practice and get a lot of seat time doing that. And then if someone jumped on a Sidecar after you've really figured out how to make the thing turn and not just crash into things, then yeah.
Well, you have the basic idea of everything already, and you already know how to read tracks. Like, you've got an idea of how everything works. It's just learning that one single thing then, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you learn the bike fitness, you learn how to twist the throttle, you learn gate drops, you learn awareness, racecraft, all that sort of stuff that are key to being a good rider. You learn that all doing something else that's essentially an easier setup. Like, motocross bikes generally don't just fall apart like sidecars seem to do, and you don't have to worry about finding a passenger if you want to go practicing during the week or whatever. So yeah, I think there's been good examples of people that have started late, like Jake Brown, for example, Stuart Brown's son. He started riding a sidecar, I think, in his mid-20s or something, and within 2 years he was standing on the podium at a Grand Prix because he was a good solo rider, he had the right sort of mentality, and because he put the work in, and like I said, people saw it from a mile off, he got good opportunities with passengers and sponsors and that sort of stuff, and before you know it, he's probably the fastest person to be learning to ride a sidecar and then 2 years later be on the podium at a GP. So.
Yeah, because I always think, I'm too old, I'm never going to be good at it. Because I'm 41 and I'm way too gone. But we have people, some of the guys and ladies that race in those reliability trials that we do, they're in their 60s and 70s and they're still fanging around.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's so inspirational. Well, you think, wow.
Yeah, you don't stop because you're old. You get old because you stop.
Yeah.
I think that's the saying that some people say.
I raced against a guy on a sidecar. He was a rider and he was 85. This was on a hill climb. So it was up a bitumen hill climb road thing. And yeah, he was 85 and he said, I'm just going to keep riding until I can't anymore. And he said, if I stop riding, I'll probably die.
There you go. You can't knock it, can you?
No, it's pretty cool.
We have it over here with Stuart Brown. I mean, I think he's 53 or 54 now. And I've honestly been thinking throughout my whole career, I've always thought, Stuart will only be around for a couple more years. And then every year he comes out and he's just faster, if not faster, as he was the year before. And you think, how is he still doing it? And he's coming out again this year when it looked like last year he might not be doing much else. And he's got a different passenger and he's watching the videos. He's been training in Spain. He's been doing all sorts of stuff. And it's he looks fast. And I wouldn't rule him out for winning the first round of the British Championship. Which is ridiculous to think, but yeah, it just goes to show that that's all he wants to do, and he's been riding since he was 14 or 15 or whatever, and now he's 53, 54, and he's still just there doing it.
Yeah, well, he'd be that wise, and that the technique and everything would be so on point that he probably doesn't, I don't know, get like as gassed and stuff as what he probably did when he was younger as well.
No, probably not. Like, well, see, I've had the chance to race Stuart quite a few times. I've never raced someone that's. I don't think I've ever overtaken him because he's so clever and so experienced with that sort of stuff. He almost makes me feel stupid when I race with it. But like, just because I'm maybe faster on that track on that day, it doesn't mean that I'm going to beat him. And that's, I think, yeah, he went to a Dutch national race earlier in maybe a month ago or something like that. And I looked at the results from the first race, and it was like a full Grand Prix lineup, and he was third.
Yeah, wow.
I thought that was ridiculous. Hats off to him. But yeah, you can. I think age is just a number when it comes to this sport.
Yeah. Well, what advice would you give to any new people wanting to give it a go?
It depends what they're trying to do it for. I mean, it's a good opportunity that it's one of the few sports that you can just ride for fun and just enjoy it and take it for what it is. Or if you generally want to become a world level rider, you get in what you put out. So, or you get out what you put in. So, you know, if you want to put in loads of effort and try and get to the top level, just do it. And you eventually, if you keep plugging away, you're going to get there. I think that's what the most unique, good thing about the sport is. When you're riding around, you're on a bike with another person, you have that connection. Like, when I ride around on my quad, it's almost lonely. You're there on your own. I know that you're not always speaking to each other and stuff, but when you get off the bike, it's such a teamwork thing, discussing this happened and that happened and whatever. Like, it's so unique in that sort of way as well, that you're so connected with that one person while you're riding with. Yeah, and you put your safety in each other's hands, and you take the good times with the good and the bad times with the bad, and yeah, it's sort of very unique in that sort of way.
Yeah, there's definitely nothing like it.
No.
No, I love it. Alrighty, well, we've been talking for like, I don't know, an hour and 40 minutes now. A bit over the time, but hopefully I'm not holding you up. What is the time there now?
20 to 11.
Oh, okay. What are you doing today?
No, it's not that.
You're not going out riding or anything?
No riding this weekend. We got a weekend off. We've been busy. So we were actually working yesterday. And then we done a podcast yesterday afternoon. Oh, cool. For the first time in probably 3 or 4 months. We've been proper slacking with it recently.
Yeah, I've been waiting for it. This is what I listen to when I go to the gym. And now I haven't been going to the gym because it's so boring. And I'm like, when are these guys going to put out another podcast? I can't handle this boring. It's so boring at the gym.
We went to do one in the winter, like when there wasn't really anything going on. And then we sort of sat there and tried to brainstorm it a little bit. We were like, we haven't really got anything to talk about. So we just didn't bother. And then everyone's been going on at us about it. And I think, yeah, maybe we should have done that one. But yeah, we've done one yesterday and we had quite a lot to talk about on that one. So hopefully we can start rolling them out every couple of weeks.
Well, I suppose once all the racing starts up again as well, you guys will have more stuff to talk about. And
more relevant things to speak about, I think. I also probably take it for granted that I'm like, well, people probably aren't going to want to listen to us talking about, like, something that isn't happening now, if you know what I mean. But then when I listen to other podcasts, I don't really care what they're talking about.
Yeah.
That's Sidecars. So.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've been following you guys and listening to the podcast and stuff, and I thought, oh, we need something like that around here. And I thought, oh, should I do it? And I was like, nah, people are going to think I'm an idiot. And then I thought, nah, stuff it. I'm bloody doing it. And since I've been doing it, I've had so many people messaging me and saying, oh, it's so cool. Like, we love it. And like, even people from over, like in the UK and Europe and stuff have all been messaging me. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll keep doing it then. But yeah, no, it's cool.
Definitely. I mean, I don't think there's anything like this. Like, I'm not really a podcast listener. Like, I don't really listen to podcasts. Don't really, like, I don't know why. I'm just not generally that interested in them, like a lot of other people are.
No, same here. But if it's about sidecars, I'm listening.
Yeah, but then when we sort of came up with the idea of doing one, the same sort of thing with the vlogs. I don't watch YouTube, but I thought I'm going to do the vlogs because I'm a great believer in that sort of stuff. Anything is better for the sport than nothing. So, and a rising tide floats all ships. So if people, I've noticed since we've done a podcast, maybe a few other people are starting to do that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and then
for
now
sure.
You've got more people that are doing like vlogs essentially of their riding.
Yeah.
And say for example there's 15 people every GP weekend doing a vlog, and there were 10 people around the world doing podcasts, having different guests on and whatever. In 5 years, the sport is going to have so many more people with their eyes on it than if no one done anything.
I came across you guys, I think it was, your vlog on YouTube when I was first learning. Like, I'd only been a few laps on a sidecar and I didn't know much about it. And I was looking for sidecar videos online, and then I come across your thing, and then I was like watching all your guys' stuff. And for a beginner, like, watching all that stuff is really cool. Like, when you don't know much about it and sometimes you feel a bit silly if you want to like ask people questions and stuff like that. So to be able to watch those and see other people's experiences and just follow around what other people are doing, it was just a really cool thing to see and listen to and stuff. So I loved it. I was like, when are they putting out more? I think I've watched like your guys' vlogs probably a couple times, like each one. Because I'm like folding the washing and I'm just watching the vlogs and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like waiting for another one to come out. And then when you did the podcast, I was like, oh cool, now I've got something to listen to at the gym.
I'd say 90% of the vlogs that I've done, I only ever watch them when I've edited them. I've never rewatched them.
Yeah.
And I think I re-listened to the first podcast we ever done. But that was it. I've never re-listened to them, never re-watched them. Like, I just don't really, I don't really listen, like, watch or do that sort of stuff. But to be part of making it and putting it out there, and I think the main reason why I wanted to as well is I used to always, when I was like looking up to riders that done Grand Prix and whatever, you always imagine it to be different to how it is. So when I just try and keep it literally as raw as possible. I say whatever I think, like my opinion sort of thing, and we'll show the messy side of what we're up to as well as like the racing side. And then if people want to watch it, they can watch it, and maybe it'll, like you say, help someone or inspire someone or make someone think I could do that.
Yeah, well, it definitely does, that's for sure. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to try and do a few more at some point.
Yeah, no, they're cool. And like just from a beginner's point of view, like that stuff's awesome. It really is. And like for people who are experienced and probably been around it forever, they just think, whatever. But for someone that's, getting into it, I think all that stuff's really good.
Yeah.
Definitely inspires and, gets you pumped up and, makes you want to like get involved in it more. And just, for us in Australia to watch what you guys do over there or watch what the GPs are like and stuff like that, it's really cool because we don't get to see any of that stuff or experience it here. So it's good.
Yeah.
So I'll be looking out for your latest one when you upload it. Have you uploaded it yet?
Yeah. Hopefully George will get on with it. And I told him that I was coming on your podcast, so he said he'll have to try and get our one out before your one comes out.
Oh, okay.
So it's a race now.
It's a race. Yeah, well, what you guys should, because you guys are doing the video ones. I haven't worked that out yet, but you guys could even get like people from other countries on there via the bloody like Zoom or whatever it is, and even chat with other people from other places on there while you guys are doing it.
Yeah, that's what we want to try and do. And like, problem is we speak about doing a lot of different things, and then when it actually gets to it, because you're so busy with the racing, it gets put on the back burner.
Yeah.
But what we kept saying we want to do, and maybe I'll be able to do it this year, is take the podcast setup to the GPs, and then you can just go and sit in someone's truck with them and just do a little podcast with them, like
yeah, that would be
even
cool.
for 45 minutes or something like that, like
Yeah,
because I get on with so many of the riders as well. It'd be like sort of two mates chatting sort of thing, and I think people would be quite interested in that.
yeah, no, that would be cool. As well, being at the events and while things are fresh in people's minds, like whatever's going on at the time and stuff would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's it. And I think probably as well, if we'd done them ones maybe without the video or something, because the video makes it quite hard for editing. So
Yeah,
if you've just got the audio, you could just upload the audio almost, a couple of hours after you've done the podcast.
yeah.
So
Well, I just
you could do a podcast with someone at a GP on a Friday, and then people could listen to it over the weekend.
yeah, I just record on my phone when I'm then you can just go back through and edit it.
Yeah, we could look into the phone thing. That's quite interesting.
Yeah,
But I was quite surprised when I listened to the one that you done with Brian, how easy it was to listen to. Sometimes, like, you listen to the radio and someone calls in, for example, and it's a bit hard, difficult to listen to. But I was very surprised how easy it was.
I just got an app on my phone and it just records my phone call.
It's handy.
Yeah, it's a bit stalkerish, but that's what I use. I'm pretty sure that's probably what other people use it for, but I found it to do it for this. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Well, it obviously works, so keep doing it.
Yeah. No. Well, I wasn't sure if it was even going to be any good at the start. I thought, oh, I don't want to like go all out with it because people probably won't even listen to it or, think it's silly. But yeah, so I thought I'll just use this app and then, but everyone's loving it. So we'll see what happens. I might get some flash stuff. I don't know. We'll see. Alrighty, well, I'll let you go. Thanks so much for coming on and having a chat.
Thanks for having me.
And good luck for your whatever you do this year for racing.
Whatever happens.
Alrighty, no worries. Take it easy.
Thank you very much.
Alright, see ya.
Bye, mate.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in to that episode with Dan. Thank you so much to Dan for jumping on and chatting with me. It was so cool to talk to someone from a different country, especially Dan, since he was the first person that I ever followed online, which was pretty cool. Thanks, guys, for all the support, and hopefully I'll have another episode out soon. Thank you.